All right, this is disgusting. Police near Boston say a teacher jumped in the sack with a boy and did it, literally, more than 300 times. And she's married. Here she is. Let's get a picture of her. Christine McCallum, 29. She's accused of luring the boy when he was 13, boozing him up with Jell-O shots, rum, vodka, and then having sex with him. Sometimes police say this happened right under the husband's nose. He's sleeping upstairs. She's getting it on with the 13-year-old kid downstairs. Allegedly, it went on for 2 years. The prosecutor said that she, basically, as she's writing love letters to the kid, she would choose the boy over her job. Well, guess what? That's the way things went down. She got fired, thankfully, and she's charged with 7 counts of statutory rape. Joining me now to talk further about this one, what's going on with these ladies? Dr. Robbie Ludwig, a psychotherapist, and we're also taking your calls at 1-877-TEL-HLN. Let me give folks, Robbie, a little more detail on this one. The way it goes is the kids are being raised by a single dad. The boy she had the fling with is 13. He's got a younger brother. She's called in to tutor the younger brother. And not long after that, within a couple of months, she starts filling the 13-year-old with booze, and they start the affair. Give me the mindset here. From all accounts, she's happily married. Why is she going after a 13-year-old?
Yeah, clearly she's not happily married.
Right, yeah.
What we find with these women is sometimes they are emotionally more like teenagers than actually the adults they appear to be as a teacher. And so some of these teachers almost forget their age. They're drawn to these teenagers, and there's a lot of sexuality when you're working with teenagers in the air. There's a lot of hormones flying around. And for the teacher that is either psychologically disturbed or not sophisticated or not trained, they can think that they're falling in love with these very young students and cross a dangerous boundary.
Yeah, exactly. We'd hope that our teachers would keep their hormones in check. We know teens' hormones are obviously raging. And one more before we get to the calls. I mean, don't these teachers know they're going to get caught? We do these stories far too often.
Oh. Right.
I mean, or is that just out the window? That logic is gone here.
Well, I think there's a lot of denial when it comes to romantic poor judgment, maybe a lot of wishful thinking or fantasizing that maybe they can run off and live this fabulous life with the teenager. I mean, we think about Mary Kay Letourneau. She actually did that. So I think when people are kind of acting impulsively in the moment, they're not necessarily thinking about the consequences of their actions.
Yeah, and Letourneau's a different story, but how many lives did she destroy with her actions? She left a husband and 4 kids who I'm sure are still reeling from those decisions. Let's get a call in. Jeff in Indiana. Jeff, your thought here? Yeah, what's going on? How are you?
Great show, man.
Thanks.
Hey, listen, you know, this is kind of a no-brainer. I mean, the last 3, 4, 5 of these cases that were in the news, they all got off easy. What do we think is going to happen?
Robbie, let me ask you this. Is there a pattern here? It seems like, and not all are the same, the ages vary a little bit, but we have seen a few where it's almost that same MO, mid to late 20s, married, and just ready to give up everything for some kid.
Well, I think in part, you know, some of these teachers not trained, so they're not supervised to know that, you know, they may be attracted to some of these students. In fact, that's probably going to happen, and then work with a supervisor on how not to give in to those feelings, similar to the way therapists are trained. So I think that's part of it. The other piece is, you know, some of these students are very seductive, and if a person is not healthy and not trained, they can get seduced. It does not make them right. Okay. But I think that's what happens quite a lot.
Okay, I got to follow up on that one. I mean, we would hope the teachers would know. I mean, if there's someone, a young student is attracted, those feelings have got to go. They've got to be squashed.
Well,
that's part of the job.
Right. There's ego that gets involved, and also they're getting their ego is being met, and it's very hard for some of these teachers to resist.
Okay. Let's get another call in. Stacy, your comment or question here? Stacy?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Well, I'm a teacher in Iowa, and I think that what's really interesting about this is that your callers, even calling in, can name the handful of people who have done this.
Right.
You know, most teachers, it's not about their ego. It's not about them at all. They're in this to really help kids, and they care about kids. And as parents, unfortunately, have stopped meeting the needs of their kids, those kids are turning to their teachers for more and more roles. We fill so many roles: social worker, pastor, counselor, nurse.
I think you're hitting on something, Stacey. And let me say this. We're not here to indict teachers. As you said, Stacey, and we thank you for your service to our kids. You have more impact than probably you'll ever know. But I think you could be hitting on something there that parents, are we abdicating our role a little bit too much? And we want teachers to do a little too much, take over our job. I think we're heading in a different area, but that kind of sets the table for some of this stuff. Because, Robbie, as we read this story, these kids being raised by a single dad, and the way they tell the story on her side is she was kind of wanted to mother them. She'd invite them over, she'd feed them. Why did this take such a sick turn then, is my question?
Well, I think the caller brought up a really good point, that when you look at these students, what they have in common is the students who are seduced very often come from problematic backgrounds. So they are vulnerable to these teachers. They seek these teachers out because they want their needs met, and then it just takes this romantic, dangerous turn. So that's what's so scary about the scenario. It's usually the students who are very fragile and in need that very often get caught up in these situations.
Robbie, we just got a few seconds left, but I got to ask you, and I'm reading between the lines with you. Are you trying to say that we have to train our teachers to be prepared for those impulses?
Yes, I think that we need to assume when you are working with teenagers, there's a lot of sexuality in the air, that it's normal to be attracted to certain students, and then how do you not act on it? Yes, I think we need to bring it out there, and so we could deal with it. It's a reality.
Well, I'd like to continue this conversation, but that's all the time we have. It does frighten me, though, that we have to get to the point of training our teachers, but you're the expert here.
No, training's a good thing.
Well,
it's
maybe
always
it
a
is.
good thing. Knowledge is power.